Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Discussing Dynamo. My name is New Ward, and I will be your host today. At the time of recording, it is 11:51 p.m. on Friday, February 23rd, so that means I can still say tomorrow we have a match against Sporting Kansas City. So this will be a preview of that match. We'll talk about what I think our lineup's going to be. We'll talk a little bit about what I think their style of play is going to be, and little match day predictions. For the fun stuff, Um, but before we begin with all that, if you like what you see today, please be sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below letting me know what you're most excited for about tomorrow. I know the team's going to have a pre-game event and first game of the season activities, as this is the beginning of our 2024 MLS season. So the hype is real. Let's get going. But first, we do have a little bit of news. We always have news with Houston Dynamo, so we're going to go ahead and break this down. Really, actually, just one small piece of news. I guess not small, but one piece of news. The team did announce this past Wednesday that we signed Ifunanyachi Achara back to the team in Dynados. Ifunanyachi was with us for the 2023 season. We picked him up at the end of 2022. And in the spring of last year, he suffered a injury that took him out for the entire season, so we weren't able to really use him. We didn't extend his contract at the end of this year, but I think given the striker position, Escobar's out. Bossy's still in immigration limbo. We. I'm sorry. Did I say Escobar's out? Ferrera's out injured. Bossy's in immigration limbo. We don't have Baird anymore, so we did need some strikers, and so I think we're bringing him in to kind of give us a little bit more depth in that field. The team did say that uh, that they're still working to develop him back into the game. He's still working on him returning to the game from that injury. So, I don't think we're going to see him anytime soon. Um, but maybe this gives us just another option, maybe in a couple months if we really need a striker, like if we're really getting desperate, this will give someone like maybe to give a Leo a break. Because I'm pretty sure we're gonna have Leo as our starting number 9 for a small little bit here, which I'm not too mad about. I like Leo. I think this will be good. I think we're in safe hands. Um, but actually, yeah, that's it for all I have for news. Just we have Ifu back, so that'll be fun. So let's go ahead and start breaking down this game coming up in a couple hours, really, against Sporting Kansas City. So this is kind of a rematch of last year's. I want to say it was a quarterfinal, technically, of the MLS Cup playoffs. We eliminated them 1-0. A bit of a controversial ending. There was a non-called handball. Um, who was it? I think it was Fiachenko. Uh, was in the goal. He was the last defender on a shot from Kansas City. His arm came out, stopped the ball. Um, the only reason I don't think this should have been a flagrant red card and penalty kick, the way the rules dictate something like that should have been, was because I don't think he really stuck his arm out to deflect the ball. I think to me it looked like he was kind of shifting his weight to go left to kind of try and stop the ball with his body. And you know how whenever you shift weight to kind of keep your balance, you stick your arm out. Um, I think it was something like that. Granted, I've seen this, in countless games, countless leagues. This is going to get called a handball. In other countless games and other countless leagues, this is going to get not called a handball. So I can understand where the confusion on the decision was, on like where the hesitation to call it one way or the other was. And ultimately, if in our favor it wasn't called a handball, we were allowed to, keep the score being what it was. I think at that point it was 1-0. And I mean, I've heard Kansas City fans even say that, while that was in their minds not at all the right call, kind of how we Houston fans will feel about this recent call in the St. Louis game. I've heard them say that they just weren't in it that game. They weren't performing and like a team that was going to try and beat us. Um, so that this will be a little bit of bad blood in there. They'll be looking to prove something that they should have won here last time they were here. We'll be looking to prove that no, they shouldn't, and also it's our first game at home, so we're going to be wanting to show out for the fans. Um, so hopefully it's a good game. I think it'll be a good little blood and thunder game. I really do. Um, in terms of lineups from them, uh, kind of for the same reason the St. Louis game, we don't really have too much to go off of in terms of competition lineups. I did see that they have a lot of injuries too, same as we do. So I can't even go off and look at what they took to us in the playoff game and kind of go off of that because a lot of those players are injured. So really, it's going to be a shot in the dark at what they're going to come at us and who they're going to come at us with. But you can kind of assume that on how they're going to come at us is they're going to come at us with that counterattacking style of play that they like to play. Um, I don't think we're going to handle it the same way we did against St. Louis. I don't think that'd be the right decision. You know, you take this game on Tuesday that we played against St. Louis. You have this game coming up tomorrow, and then you have another game against St. Louis on Tuesday, and that is 3 games against strong counterattacking teams, albeit 2 of those teams being the same. But that's 3 games where we have to worry about counterattacking. I don't think it'd be smart to handle all 3 games the exact same way because that's going to make it too predictable. Um, if you haven't watched that last video or if you haven't watched the game, what we did in the St. Louis game was we kind of played it very small balls or very smart passes from the back and kind of moved it forward that way slowly. I think we'll do something like that, but I don't think we're going to do it where we're passing to Mikhail every single play. We're trying to advance forward and working it from that left side of the field. Um, I think we'll kind of be a little bit more creative with it this time, or I hope we will. Just because if Kansas City was watching that game, then they know how to beat us. Because all St. Louis did was they moved their kind of attacking idea from the midfield to the backfield, or our backfield, I should say, and that seemed to really get the trick on them. They were putting pressure on that back line, and that really messed us up. Granted, I don't think Kansas City has the same exact style of counterattacking play that St. Louis does. Um, I think if we did a couple long balls against Kansas City, I don't think we're going to get punished the same way that we would have against St. Louis. St. Louis has that very, you think you're safe for a long ball, and then, you launch one up, you launch a little cross forward at your midfielder, and then all of a sudden there's, there's a guy in red there to take the ball from them, and you have no idea where he came from. He's just there. Um, I don't think we're going to have that issue against Kansas City. I think we'll be able to, you know, not have our way, but I think we'll be able to play around them. Um, but that really only time can tell for that. Other than that, we'll go ahead and take a look at what I think our lineup's gonna look like. So here I have, this is basically what we ended with the end of the game against I'm sorry, the end of the game against St. Louis. This is what our lineup basically looked like. So I think we're gonna have Clark in goal, Mikhail and Sviatchenko here in the backfield. Stairs, Artur, and Dorsey. I cannot say Artur's name right. I always want to say it without rolling any of the R's. It just sounds wrong. Um, Reigns and Kediskia in the midfield. Smith, Kowalczyk, I think will start in the wings, and then Aliu will start as a striking position. Like I said, I think Aliu is going to be our starting 9 for a while. So the only difference from this to Tuesday was Schmidt, I think, is going to be on the bench this game, and we'll have Steria starting. And then Smith is obviously, I think, going to be starting on the wing instead of Aliu on the wing, and this is where Ferreira was to start Tuesday, but Ferreira is out injured, so I think we're gonna have Smith on the wing and Aliu up here at front. Now there was a rumor circulating around Twitter where people think Anor might be starting because he put 26 in his bio, which means they gave him a number. So people are thinking he might be on the starting lineup or in the starting 9 or roster, or maybe he'll be on the bench again. But people are excited about that. Oh, you know what? No, I am tripping. It was Scylla. It was Usman Scylla that people were talking about, not Anor. That is my fault. So people, maybe Scylla has earned a spot to the bench. Um, that is my fault. That was misinformation there. But other than that, yeah. So I think that's how we're gonna go about it in terms of our attack. Like I said, I think we're gonna play something similar, where instead of doing just straight, because what we were doing was we were feeding the ball to Mikhail, and he'd pass it to this was Schmidt, who would try and pass it to Reigns or Artur, and they'd kind of work it up this little lane right here. Very small, very slow, and methodical passes through. I think we'll be able to get away with, like, if we do go through Mikhail, we'll be able to get it to Reigns, or he'll be able to cross it over to Ketski and be able to play out on this right side through Kowalczyk, because Kowalczyk had an amazing game Tuesday. I think he's showing a lot of attacking prowess here. So I think he'll be able to kind of, Smith and Kowalczyk will be able to go out on the wings more and be able to lay crosses in for Liu that we didn't have that option against St. Louis, because if I think we played it that way against St. Louis, we cross it into the box, and then all of a sudden St. Louis is just attacking through this center field here. But I think against Kansas City, as long as we kind of avoid the mid backfield, like this range right here, I think if we're able to kind of get out to the wings, that'll spread Kansas City a little bit more like we want. and if we're not crossing it into the box for Liu, we'll be crossing it kind of back out to the box for Kediskia or Reigns to be here to try and finish or feed it up to Liu and do what we need to do. Really, I think the one thing we're not going to be able to afford to do is have our back line have the rocky start that they did against St. Louis. Again, if you haven't watched the last video or if you haven't watched the game, I mean, there were two instances within the first 15 minutes where St. Louis could have scored because our backline didn't really they weren't on from the word go there, and then there were several instances throughout the game. I know the last end of the first half, and then throughout a good bit of the second half where I mean we were on all holds barred defense mode. Just everyone was trying to it was survival mode in the backline, trying to stop St. Louis from scoring. So I think as long as they can come out ready to go, and the attackers come out knowledgeable, I think we'll be able to have a pretty good game this upcoming Saturday. Tomorrow, I should say. I don't know why I said it like that. But other than that, that's kind of all I have for the actual game itself. Really, only time can tell on where the lineup's going to be. I will say I was dead wrong on the last one, so we'll see how I do this one. I feel confident though. This is basically what we did, so kind of copying and cheating, but hey, I got the answer right. Moving on from that, like I said, the team is going to have some pregame festivities. I know there's going to be a little street fest in front of Shell Stadium, so that'll be fun to go to. I know all the supporter groups are having pregame things at the local establishments near the stadium. I don't know if I want to call them what they are, but they're bars, so yeah. But I know they're having pregame festivities. I heard one of them is having a seafood boil, so that might be fun if you're in town and you can try and go to that. And then before the game, the team is going to have a unveiling ceremony to unveil the banner for the 2023 U.S. Open Cup. So that'll be fun to kind of see and witness. And that does give me time and a good segue into the controversy going on with the MLS and the U.S. Open Cup. Now, this is a very in-depth controversy, so this is going to require a whole video with a lot of research and a lot of facts to kind of present what's going on. And while I would like to give you that at the moment, it's still ongoing, so I can't give you everything. And genuinely, if I make that video like right now or try to give you all that information right now by Monday, it's Friday right now, so by like Monday, Tuesday, all that information could be outdated, and we could have a whole other situation going on. Like it's that ongoing and that drastically changing. But essentially, what's going on is that the MLS has decided that they didn't want to compete in the U.S. Open Cup this year, which goes against the pro league standards set by the United States Soccer Federation. So essentially, what MLS said was we're not going to compete because we don't have enough time. Like there's too much schedule congestion. And they're blaming it all on the fact that we have the upcoming Leagues Cup coming up in the MLS, which is, a tournament made up by the MLS and Apple to basically just kind of make more money. It only includes MLS teams and some teams from Liga MX. So they're basically choosing this tournament over the U.S. Open Cup, and they're saying that because of this tournament, because of the way they have the playoffs going in the fall, that there's just not enough time to play the U.S. Open Cup, and they're not making enough money off of it anyway. So they're deciding that they just don't want to participate. So obviously this led to pushback from the Open Cup committee, from the U.S. Soccer Federation, and if people on Twitter and everywhere were kind of hoping that they'd put their foot down and say like you're going to compete, you have to compete. It's literally in the rules that you have to compete if you're qualified. But unfortunately, the Soccer Federation didn't stick up for themselves like that, and they kind of let MLS kind of push them around a little bit. So as it stands right now, there's only going to be 8 MLS teams competing in the Cup. We don't know which 8 yet, and we don't even know if they're going to be coming with their starting rosters or backups. And I mean, MLS has been competing with their backups for years now, so it's not even like it would have been that big of a deal if they had just come in with their backups. Like they could have put, because at first MLS wanted to just put their second teams, like they wanted to put Dynados, they wanted to put all the MLS Next teams in instead of the MLS. And truthfully, they could have just said like moved all those MLS Next players up to first team, put them in the team in the tournament, and then not said anything about it, and no one would have cared. Even if people knew, no one would have cared. Like you just didn't, they didn't have to make the big deal about this that they are, and because of what they're doing, there was even one small point where it looked like the Open Cup might have been canceled, and this is the oldest tournament in the United States. So, I mean, this predates MLS. This predates. I think this even predates the USL. Like this is an old tournament. So it to me it's a really negative thing MLS is doing. It hurts their credibility. It hurts soccer in America as a whole. And then the USSF kind of letting them do this, or not really putting their foot down and saying like, you need to stop this. Um, that in and of itself speaks to what US soccer is right now. Um, and for that reason, I'm not going to be covering the Leagues Cup. So unless there's any kind of injuries or news going on in those games, I won't really be discussing them to kind of show solidarity with the Open Cup, because I think we shouldn't be, if it had to be one or the other, it should obviously be the cup that we're required to play for, not the one we made for money. Um, but yeah, so like I said, once all the information is kind of out there and settled and this is done, I'll make a video kind of going over everything, and hopefully things fall out the right way. There's still time for the MLS to say, you know what, we were wrong and we're gonna go ahead and play anyway. But it's looking more and more every day like that's not gonna happen. Um, but that is something else entirely. This video is supposed to be about Kansas City, the game against Kansas City tomorrow, and the fun time that we're gonna be having there. Um, so to kind of end on a lighter note, we'll bring it back to the game and talk about how I think the game's gonna go in terms of score. Um, Let me think for just a second. I think we'll go ahead and actually get a 1-0 result out of this. I think it'll be a repeat of the playoffs last year, mainly because I'm petty and I think it'd be funny. Truthfully, I could see a 2-1 going in our favor. Um, Probably us scoring the first one, them getting really, really upset and playing really, really aggressive, and scoring the second one. I think that'll be the first half, and then I think we'll be able to come in with a late, we'll see, like 76 minute to 80-ish minute go ahead goal, and I think that'll be the last goal. And then I'll put down, let's say, I think Kovalchik's gonna score one, and I think Aliyu is gonna score one. So those would be my goal scorers for the game. That's my scoring prediction for the game. Um, but if you have time to see this, I know it's kind of a late post, but if you have time to see this before the game starts, please be sure to leave your predictions down in the comments on who you think's going to score, the score is going to be, that whole little spiel about the U.S. Open Cup. If you have any opinions about that, or have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments as well. But other than that, that's really all I have for today. So thank you very much for watching the video. If you like what you see, please be sure to like and subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you can see whenever I post again in the future. But other than that, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day, and I will see you all in the next one.